Everybody, in this video today we're going to talk about a really popular suburb on the west side of Indianapolis and the pros and cons of living there. We're going to get into Avon, Indiana, so stay tuned. Hey everybody, I'm Jason Compton with the Compton Home Group. Welcome back to the channel. If it's your first time here to this channel and you want to know everything there is to know about living in places like Avon, Indiana, Indianapolis, Indiana, or any of the surrounding suburbs, then make sure that you hit that subscribe button and tap the little bell so you're notified every time we do a new video each and every week. Now we get reach outs from people all over the country with questions about places like Avon, Indiana, or any of the surrounding suburbs, and Indianapolis itself, of course. So if you have questions at all about any of those places, then don't hesitate to reach out any way that you know how. We'll always have your back with those questions, and we'll certainly have your back whenever it comes time for you to make your move to Indy or any of the surrounding metro. All right, so today we're talking about Avon, Indiana, and the pros and cons of living in Avon, Indiana. So a lot of places have pros, a lot of places have cons. Of course, almost every place in the world has pros and cons of certainly living there. Avon is no different at all. I will say that Avon is a really popular Indianapolis suburb. It's not incredibly large. Population there, it's under 20,000 people. It's 17,000 and something or so. So it's not a huge one. And it's certainly my feeling, and a lot of people's feeling, that it's a suburb that flies under the radar. One, probably given that it's not a huge one, and there are a lot of other suburbs around Indianapolis that are much, much larger, but they just overshadow Avon, Indiana, unfortunately. And back in 2017, Money Magazine, it had it ranked as the 17th best place to live in the country. So there are outlets out there that do recognize Avon as a really great place to live. I certainly know that it would be a fantastic place for somebody to live, but of course it has to be right for you. And it was 17th in the country, and just in front of that was Carmel, Indiana at 16th. So there's a pretty good indication as to how Avon lives in the shadow, it seems like, or just, like I said, flies under the radar of so many other places around Indianapolis. But it doesn't take away from the fact that it is a really, really solid place to live. So plenty of pros. We're gonna go through 3 of those. We're gonna get into 3 cons, though, of Avon, Indiana as well. So that'll be at the second half of this video, so stay tuned for that. So number 1, the very first pro for Avon, and the reason that most people really love Avon, is the fact that it has a super high quality of life, and that is so general. So what does that mean exactly? Well, number 1, the schools are some of the best in the state. The public schools in Avon, they are absolutely incredible. The overall niche.com score for the schools is A, and then also just the overall score for Avon in general is an A. But like I said, there's a lot of things that go into that. Schools are certainly one of those. Amenities or things that you might need for your day-to-day life, plenty of those there. But something else that a lot of people don't really think about is the healthcare, the hospital system in Hendricks County, where Avon is located. Hendricks Regional Health is very highly rated. You can get into Indianapolis and get your primary care physician or specialists all over the place, but Hendricks County also has those on its own. So given that it's so much smaller and so much closer, the accessibility is just so much easier. So that definitely plays into that quality of life, instead of going to a huge hospital and kind of getting lost just through the maze of trying to navigate where you need to go and who you need to contact. Great care in a lot of those places too. It's just so much bigger, and so it comes with some of the extra inconveniences of being in a big system. Hendricks County is much smaller, so in my mind, that really does play a factor in the quality of life for a person in Avon. So definitely the number 1 pro. Number 2 for Avon is that it's really a pretty quiet suburb, and not a lot going on out in the residential parts of Avon, and that's what people certainly like. It's a place where you can get everything, of course, like I said before, that you need, definitely, but when you compare it to some of the other suburbs around Indianapolis, like Carmel or Fishers, which are extremely popular, they're also pretty busy. At least they have, in places, spots that are just exceptionally busy. and a heck of a lot going on. You get down to the south side in Greenwood, another big suburb, over 60,000 people, or right at 60,000 people, and just has a little busier feel. Avon, you've got a little bit of an easier time escaping all of that. So for people who are looking for a west side suburb, want something a little bit slower paced, Avon could potentially be a pretty good fit for you because of that pro. And the third pro for Avon is that its location kind of ties back into that number 2. It's a quiet place, but it's not way out there. I could definitely pull out plenty of names of small suburbs around Indianapolis, but they have a feeling of being pretty far out there. They may not be really far out there, and of course it depends on what your definition of really far out there is. I know I've got it in my mind. You know, if you're more than 30 minutes away or so, 45 minutes, something like that, that's pretty far out there. But Avon is not that at all. So if you need to get to the west side of Indianapolis, if you need to get to downtown Indianapolis, or if you need to get to really close by in Plainfield, which is another incredible suburb, or to the north, Brownsburg, another incredible suburb, and they all have their own unique things to offer, Avon is just sandwiched right in all of that, but gives you that little bit of escape where it can be a little bit quieter than some of those other places. So definitely a pro, of course, with that location. Location is always very subjective. I mean, if you work way northeast and every single day you need to commute from Avon to Fishers or Noblesville or Carmel, or even out to the east side like Lawrence, your commute's gonna be longer, definitely. But if you are generally looking for something kind of west side Indianapolis, or you don't really care, let's say you're just open, you work from home, you can just live wherever, then Avon could be a pretty good fit based on that location and its proximity to a lot of things that might be of interest to you, or a lot of things to do, or a lot of things that you might need. So for all of those things that Avon has to offer that are positive, of course there's some things that people are gonna knock Avon for. Now, it's not gonna be absolutely dramatic, of course, where you're worried about your safety or anything like that in Avon, because it's an incredibly safe place. But there are some cons, and these are some things that I don't know that you would notice right away living in Avon. It might be something that you'd notice right away just looking at it, potentially, but you have to live in Avon a little while to kind of realize, I don't know if I really like this part of it or not. And these cons, of course, can be subjective too. So these are cons in my mind, maybe not that big a deal in yours, I don't know. But once you live there, you're of course going to develop your own list. But con number 1, Avon is very commercial. So US 36, Rockville Road, just goes straight down the middle from east to west and west to east through Avon. Now, to me, it could be a positive because, like I said before, Avon has pretty much everything that you're going to need, like grocery stores, a super Target, a Walmart, a Chick-fil-A, whatever restaurant that you're thinking of in your head. US 36 probably has that, but it is very commercial. So when you're driving down US 36 or walking if you want to, it's incredibly busy, extremely busy. Lots of traffic there during rush hour. Everything is there, and it's not necessarily very pretty, nor is that part very quiet, and it's usually extremely congested. But the thing about it is that it doesn't have, except for some, a whole lot of really unique places. So when I say you got a Chick-fil-A there, but that's a Chick-fil-A. You can find a Chick-fil-A all over the entire country. McDonald's, Burger King, Wendy's, all your fast food restaurants are going to be there. And then your mid-level, like your Applebee's or your O'Charlie's, places like that, they're all going to be along US 36. So you can find sprinkled through there some unique or independently owned restaurants and shops, but they aren't plenty, that's for sure. Got a lot of commercial going through there, and you can find there where you can find in a lot of other places too. And number 2, this kind of plays back into that commercial aspect of it, but it's kind of a question that I ask myself whenever I'm going to a lot of different places, is if I was just plunked right down in the heart of that town or city, would I know I am in that city? Like, for example, if somebody plunked me down and right in Indianapolis, downtown Indianapolis, would I know it? Yeah, absolutely, because it has some markers showing me that it is Indianapolis. Not signs, but landmarks and things that are unique to Indianapolis. If I went to a suburb like Carmel, let's say, would I know I'm in Carmel? Absolutely. Arts and Design District in Carmel is the heart of Carmel. You know you're in Carmel when you're there. Or some of the other suburbs, honestly, around Indianapolis, they have those things where you know you are in that town or city. Avon is kind of lacking in all of that. Now, of course, that could go back to one of the pros in that it's a quiet suburb for the most part and kind of unassuming, flies under the radar, and some people really like that. But does it have a huge personality? It does not. Does it have a real cultural heart? A place that people, at least all over the entire town, can gather? Not tremendously. You know, it does have some tremendously nice parks like Washington Township Park, Avon Town Hall Park. I love that park. That's a great place. But, you know, that's about it. So it's not incredibly unique. So again, that could be something that, who cares? I don't really care about any of that stuff. But if you're looking for something like that, you're not gonna find that necessarily in a place like Avon. Now, con number 3, this goes back into that US 36 Rockville Road. It is a pro that you've got everything that you need along that particular road, but people that live in Avon, they certainly know about it, and people visiting Avon or having to travel from one side of Avon to the other. Rockville Road, man, that thing is packed with cars sometimes, and stoplights like crazy. If you're trying to get from one side of Avon to the other at the wrong time of day on Rockville Road, it's not like you're not gonna be moving. You will move, but it will be stuffed with traffic. And if you don't care, well, no big deal. But if you live way west in Avon and you've got to get to Indianapolis, the proximity, great. Mileage-wise, it's not that far. But sometimes it's going to take you more time than what you're used to, or more time than what you could expect, or even want to spend in the car driving that shortish distance because of this road. So there are a lot of people that'll go to the north to get into Indianapolis and take some of the other roads, or go to the south and then go back over to the city, or if they're leaving Indianapolis and trying to get to the west side of Avon, try to take some of these other lesser known routes, and certainly less major routes with stop signs and turns and things like that. It's just not a straight shot like it's gonna be on US 36 or Rockville Road, just to try to avoid some of that traffic. So if you cannot stand the traffic and you wanna live in a quiet suburb, Avon's gonna have certainly the quiet part, the residential part, but there are times that you're gonna have to deal with Rockville Road. And man, it is frustrating sometimes when you have to deal with it. Now, I've been over there plenty of times where Rockville Road has been pretty quiet. I wouldn't say quiet as in no cars at all, but certainly a lot less traffic, and it's just then a matter of going from stoplight to stoplight and hitting the lights correct in order to get from one side of Avon to the other. Avon's not very deep from north to south, it's wider from east to west, so it's definitely something that's going to affect you if you visit or live in Avon. So there you have it. We've got 3 pros, 3 cons for living in Avon, Indiana. We could go on and on about more pros and probably even some of the cons for living in Avon. And if you have any questions about anything outside of the list that we covered here today, don't hesitate to reach out any way that you know how. And until the next one, we'll see you later.